Advancing Islamic Studies, Artificial Intelligence, Religious Knowledge, and Educational Innovation. Our second speaker is Professor Akmal Geçer from Marmara University, Turkey, a distinguished scholar in the field of psychology, whose work centers on social connectedness and psychological well-being. He will present social connectedness and psychological well-being in algorithmic society. And then our third speaker is Dr. Frank Dunn from National Cheng Kung University, Taiwan. A respected historian whose research focused on the Southeast Asia history, identity, and memory. He will present about historical memory in the algorithmic era, Islamic thought, and Islamic identity in Indonesia. We are truly honored to have such distinguished scholar with us in this session. To ensure a more focused and well-facilitated discussion, I would like to hand over the session to our esteemed co-moderator. It's my pleasure to invite Ms. Salawati to take over the session. Ms. Salawati, the time is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Good afternoon to everyone who joining us from around the world. Welcome to session 2 at International Conference of Islamic Thought and Psychological Resilience in the Algorithmic Era, Ethics, Identity, and the Future of Civilization. My name is Solawati, and I'll be your moderator for the next 2 hours. We are thrilled to have over 100 participants today from 9 countries with us. We kindly ask to all participants to stay mute and hold your questions until the presentation is over. Distinguished participant, it is also my honor to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Dayang Hajah Umi Faizah binti Haji Abdul Rahman. She is a distinguished lecturer and emerging authority in Islamic studies with expertise in dakwah, youth development, Islamic organization, and leadership. With a strong academic foundation in dakwah and leadership, she integrates scholarly excellence with community impact, making her prominent figure in Brunei's academic and socio-religious landscape. Now she is serving as a lecturer and co-curriculum at the Sultan Sharif Ali Islamic University, Brunei Darussalam. Dr. Faizah is an active contributor to regional and international conferences presenting on topics such as Maqasid Syariah, youth dakwah, and pandemic leadership, and positioning herself as a thought leader in modern Islamic scholarship. Today, she is going to present one of her work entitled Digitalizing Islamic Studies, Artificial Intelligence, Religious Knowledge, and Educational Innovation. Dr. Umi, you have 40 minutes, and the screen is yours.
All right. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi jama'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to be here today. My name is Dr. Hajah Umi Faizah binti Haji Abdul Rahman from Brunei Darussalam. First of all, thank you to Universitas Muhammadiyah Jakarta for having me here, Yogyakarta for having me here today. Good afternoon to my fellow esteemed colleagues, Prof. Akmal and Dr. Frank Don, and dear moderator, Ms. Solawati, and dear attendants. So in this afternoon, I am thrilled to discuss a topic that sits at the fascinating intersection of faith, heritage, and the cutting edge of modern technology, which is digitalizing Islamic studies, artificial intelligence, religious knowledge, and educational innovation. So we are living in an era defined by rapid digital transformation. From how we bank to how we communicate, technology has reshaped our reality. In recent years, the rise of artificial intelligence, or AI, has moved from science fiction to a daily utility. But for those of us in the field of Islamic studies, This raises a profound question. How do we preserve the sanctity and accuracy of knowledge while embracing the efficiency of the 21st century? Today, we will explore how AI can support Islamic knowledge responsibly, ensuring that technology serves as a bridge, not as a barrier to our spiritual and intellectual heritage. So, what is digitalization in Islamic studies? Digitalization of Islamic studies is the integration of digital technology, AI, and online platforms into the research, teaching, and dissemination of Islamic knowledge. It transforms traditional pedagogy by facilitating access to digitized manuscripts, enabling computational text analysis, enhancing collaborative learning through digital tools, and adapting educational content for the digital generation. So, in the context of Islamic studies, digitalization is the process of tahwil, the process of transforming traditional learning into digital formats. Think back 30 years. If you wanted to cross-reference a specific hadith, you might spend hours in a library poring through physical volumes of Sahih Bukhari. Today, we have massive digital databases and e-books that allow us to find that some information in seconds, whether it's virtual learning platforms or online tafsir. The ultimate goal, the hadaf, is twofold: accessibility and efficiency. We want to make the beauty of Islamic knowledge available to anyone, anywhere at the click of a button. So I would like to share a verse from Surah Kahfi. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا. صدق الله العظيم. If the sea were ink for writing the words of my Lord, surely the sea would be exhausted before the words of my Lord are finished, even if we brought another like it to help. Surah Kahfi. This verse uses a powerful metaphor. The sea represents something vast and seemingly limitless. Ink represents the means of recording knowledge. Yet, even something as huge as the ocean is not enough to capture all of Allah's knowledge. The message is clear. Allah's knowledge is infinite, beyond measurement, beyond human limitation. So, relation to knowledge, human knowledge, no matter how advanced, is still limited. Technologies like AI can process massive data, but they are still like a drop in the ocean compared to divine knowledge. It reminds us to stay humble in the pursuit of knowledge. It also encourages continuous learning because knowledge is never ending. So, moving on to the next slide. So let's now talk about the brain behind modern digitalization, which is AI. It is vital to state this clearly from the start. AI is a tool, not a replacement. It cannot replace the heart of a teacher or the soul of a scholar. However, its applications are revolutionary. Imagine smart search engines that understand the context of a Quranic verse, or AI chat assistants that can help a student navigate a complex syllabus. One of the most exciting, if we see today, the developments is in speech recognition. We now have tools that can listen to a student's recitation and offer real-time tajweed corrections, for example. This isn't just about speed, it's about personalized learning, meeting every student exactly where they are. So looking at AI in Quranic and Hadith studies, let's look closer at the primary sources. AI is being used to develop apps that don't just show text, but offer translation and tafsir suggestions based on massive data sets. In Hadith studies, the challenge have always been verification and classification. AI can assist in cross-referencing thousands of narrations across different collections to help scholars identify patterns or discrepancies faster than ever before. However, a word of caution is always AI must be guided by scholars. An algorithm can find a word, but a human scholar understands the maqasid, the higher objectives, and the historical nuance. So, looking at this, we can see today beyond the text, how we teach is changing. We are seeing the rise of gamification of Islamic education using game designs, elements to make learning Sirah or Arabic more engaging for children. We are also seeing simulations. Imagine a student putting on a VR headset to perform a practice of Hajj, walking through the steps of Tawaf in a virtual environment before they ever stop foot in Makkah. This hybrid learning, combining the tradition of face-to-face mentorship with the power of online tools, is the future of the Islamic classroom. So I am aware also in UNISA, we have students who do this simulations of Hajj for their research. So moving on. So what is the benefits of digitalizations? I'm sure that the benefits are undeniable. So for accessibility, a student in a remote village can learn from a world-class scholar, maybe from Cairo or from Medina. So busy professionals can engage with Islamic studies on their own schedule. Digitalization optimizes resources, reduces paper usage, and minimizes physical storage cost. And also it enhances agility and competitiveness. Digitalized companies can respond faster to market changes, adopt new business models, and gain a competitive edge. And in terms of preservation of knowledge, ancient manuscripts that are crumbling in physical libraries are being scanned and preserved forever in digital cloud libraries, ensuring our history is never lost, inshallah. So we now talk about the challenges and risk. So, however, with great power comes great responsibility. We face significant risk. So, the internet is full of hallucinated facts. If an AI provides a fake fatwa or a misattributed hadith, the damage can be widespread. AI can produce incorrect or fabricated answers regarding Islamic knowledge and rulings. For example, falsely stating halal or haram status, creating serious theological issues. So, in terms of over-reliance and loss of critical thinking, we must ensure that students today do not stop thinking for themselves. Over-reliance on AI for research can hinder the traditional academic skill of critical, in-depth study among students and researchers. So AI is maybe only good as the data it is trained on. If the data is biased, the AI's output will be biased as well. So we must ensure Islamic AI is built on diverse, authentic, and scholarly data sets, inshallah. So from an Islamic perspective, knowledge is sacred. It is not just data, it is light. So, kalau dalam bahasa Melayunya, kita tahu ilmu Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala ini sangat-sangat suci dan kita perlu sangat-sangat menjaga kerana ia merupakan cahaya. Jadi, historically, our tradition relies on the sanad, the authentic chain of narration. As we move into the digital age, we must ask, how do we maintain the sanad in a world of algorithms? The answer lies in integrity and adapt. We must treat digital tools with the same ethical rigor we apply to traditional books. AI must support accuracy and enhance our akhlaq or adab in seeking knowledge. So regardless it is AI, we should never forget our adab in studying or pursuing any knowledge. So we can see the role of scholars and educators. So this is where the human element is irreplaceable. The role of the scholar is shifting from information provider to validator and guide. Educators must teach digital literacy. We need to teach our students not just how to use an AI app, but how to question it, how to verify its sources, and how to ensure its output aligns with the Sharia. So I would like to share this beautiful ayah from Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 6. O you have belief, if there comes to you disobedient one with information, investigate. فَتَبَيَّنُوا lest you harm a people out of ignorance and become over what you have done regretful. So this ayah on fatabayyanu, tabayyun, commands believers to seek clarity and verify the truth before taking an action. We cannot just believe things that all comes from ChatGPT, all this cloud AI, Google Gemini. As a Muslim, we should apply this etiquette in pursuing knowledge, inshallah. So the role of scholars and educators in Islamic studies, scholars and educators serve as essential guardians of authenticity and ethical integrity, ensuring that AI tools remain auxiliary aids rather than authoritative sources of religious guidance. They bridge the gap between ancient theological wisdom and modern digital innovation, focusing on preserving the spiritual core of education. So, seeing today that the challenge of asatiza, scholars, and educators, that we cannot be in our comfort zone in teaching our students, but we need to validate their assignments, their presentations are all correct and in line with the Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So future directions, looking ahead, yes, the future is bright. We will see smarter AI trained on specific curated on Islamic datasets. We will see more virtual reality for immersive history lessons. But the most important future direction is collaboration. We need a partnership between the ulama, between the scholars, and the technologists. One provides the soul, the other provides the tools. So we can imagine if these two partnership combined together, inshallah, it will give great output for the Islamic studies in this modern world, inshallah. So as a conclusion, to conclude, digitalization is no longer an option. It is inevitable. AI do offers us a powerful opportunity to spread the message of Islam further and more clearly than ever before. Our goal is not to replace tradition, but to strengthen it. By balancing innovation with authenticity, we can assure that Islamic knowledge remains vibrant, accessible, and deeply rooted in truth for generations to come, inshallah. So I end my presentation. I thank you for your time. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. I pass back to the moderator. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ummi Faiza, for your insightful presentation. Your presentation has highlighted that the digitalization of Islamic studies is not merely a technological shift, but a transformative process in how Islamic knowledge is accessed, learned, and disseminated. We have learned that artificial intelligence offers significant opportunities such as improving accessibility, enhancing learning experience, and supporting educational innovation. However, this advancement also comes with important challenges, particularly related to the authenticity, ethical responsibility, and the risk of misinterpretation without proper scholarly guidance. Importantly, your presentation reminded us that in Islamic tradition, knowledge is sacred and must be preserved with integrity, where scholars and educators play a crucial role in ensuring that technology remains a tool, not a replacement for authentic religious understanding. Ultimately, the key message is clear. While digitalization is inevitable, it must be guided by ethical principles, scholarly authority, and commitment to preserving the authenticity of Islamic knowledge in the modern era. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the second speaker, Professor Ekmal Kesher. He is professor at Marmara University, Turkey. Good morning, Professor. It must be still morning in there. Professor Ekmal is...
Good night then.
Günaydın. Thank you. Hello. Hello.
Sana,
Hi.
sana.
Teşekkür ederim. Sizler nasılsınız?
İyiyim.
MashaAllah. And you speak Turkish, which is great. Fitriya, thank you.
Yeah, I personally apologize if I don't pronounce your name correctly.
No worries, no worries. It's fine. It's fine. It's quite early in the morning here, but not that early. It's 9 a.m. So it's good time to be here. It's good time to meet all colleagues here.
Yeah, Professor Ismail is a dedicated academic with a keen interdisciplinary focus on psychology and communication studies. With a strong background in positive and media psychology, he is a bilingual author and content creator with a flair for storytelling and cross-cultural insight. He brings both academic rigor and creative energy to his work, currently contributing to print and digital publication across the United Kingdom and Turkey. He is passionate about the human mind, behavior, and the power of communication. He thrives in collaborative environments and strives to deliver thoughtful, impactful content. And today we are going to hear from him about social connectedness and psychological well-being in the algorithmic society. Please welcome Professor Akmal Kesher.
All right. Yeah, okay. I hope you can hear me very well. Can you? Yeah, okay. Frank and Ummi Rahmani Nisa. Okay, thank you very much. And Fitri and Salawati, really, it's very kind of you to invite me to the speak here. And I'm very happy to meet you all here, guys. It's online, and I hope we can somehow have a floor to meet in person too very soon. At the end of the day, we really do miss the conferences, because when we get together with the friends, we will have that social connectedness, and we will still keep the meeting, the importance of the meetings in person. Yeah, okay. My name is Akmal anyway. I'm from Turkey, and I'm a professor of psychology, social and positive psychology at Marmara University. So I will be talking about like social connectedness and psychological well-being in the algorithmic society, which I believe that is very important nowadays to discuss about. And unfortunately, as you may also heard, we had like horrific school attacks like 2 days before, 3 days before in Turkey, and we unfortunately lost like nine people, and the school killer was only like 14 years old boy. And so I think, and this is also somehow related to like social connectedness and psychological well-being, and because if people really lose their connectedness in the real life, they will definitely go to online communities, and I'm not saying that online communities are always bad, but the thing is that algorithmic or algorithms themselves somehow create echo chambers for us. So when we go into echo chambers, these echo chambers do not allow us to hear something which we do not like really. It's like AI. Whenever you ask AI, AI I mean, of course, you can still change the settings, but when you ask something to AI always approves you and say that, wow, you're doing great. And so the algorithms themselves also put us in the echo chambers, in where you can only hear your own voice, or you are with like-minded people, and this makes you believe that whatever you think, whatever you do is great. And so we need to have that like real social connectedness and real social relationships in our daily life, like offline, so that we will be able to like somehow sometimes criticize by our like fellows, by our peers, by our families, and so that we will be able to see what is right and what is wrong. But for the online communities, it is really somehow difficult to hear anyone who is like criticizing what we are doing or what we are thinking. And we should also keep in mind that online communities, no, we are actually like psychologically prone to like that's fine, actually, that's normal. But we are prone to find like-minded people, and we have somehow, to some extent, everybody has confirmation bias. But the thing is that we want to confirm what we already have in our mind. I think I'll tell you something. There, a guy called John, who was that? No, Harari, I think, from Israel. The guy is saying that in his book 21 Lessons for 21st Century, he talks about the skills that we should have in that algorithmic era and in technology times. He suggests that because technology is already doing everything on behalf of us, people with these 4 skills will be better in or they will have like one more step forward, and they will be better in communicating others, and they will be better even in their workplace, and they will be able to more easily see the problems of the social media or technologies, etc. And so the 4 skills that he suggests we must have are he calls it 4 CCs. The first one is communication, the second one is creativity, and the third one is critical thinking, and the fourth one is collaboration. So when we are on social media, even like in real life, we should always keep our critical thinking in mind. Yes, it's great to contact, it's great to be with great people, but it's great. I mean, like, psychology suggests us to have positive relationships. And as Rahman also like put it out in the Quran, it says, you have to be with the good guys, not with everyone. Like social relatedness and social relationship is very important. As already, many psychologists talk about that, like Jung talks about it, like existential psychologists talk about it, Carl Rogers talk about it, and Martin Seligman in positive psychology talk about it. They all talk that, we need to have like positive relationships. But when we say like positive relationship, it doesn't suggest that every relationship will heal us, every relation will be great for us. No, if a relationship is harming our body, if a relationship harming our mind, if a relationship harming our qalb, like our hearts, our feelings, we need to keep our distance with these kind of relationships, and we need to look for a relationship. Yes, I mean, somehow we have to be in a relationship for our psychological well-being, and this is called, social well-being. But still, if the relationship is harmful, it is much better to be alone. And loneliness is also something to be praised if the relationship is harmful. Here I need to social connectedness in real life is important, but and then Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, suggests that I'm sure everybody knows here the very famous formula he suggested, the PERMA formula. He suggests that if for our psychological well-being, we need to have positive emotions, and we need to have engagement, and we need to have relationship, which is R, and M stands for meaning, and A stands for achievement. Here it is important that engagement, especially in terms of social connectedness, is important. We need to engage in something, because engagement is something which really makes us feel better, because the more we engage in something positive, the more we will have that self-confidence. But engagement is also related to our environmental safety, which also suggested by Colin Rife in psychological well-being, like environmental mastery or the personal mastery. If we do something, if we do something in favor of others, and if we engage in something which heals us, which makes us feel better, and if we have mastery in something, I mean, if we absorb in our mind and in something, and if we can focus in something, we will feel much better. And then secondly, like he talks about a relationship, and this relationship is also related to a positive relationship, not every relationship, as I said. And then we need to tell our people, our friends, and that we need to have a meaning in life, a purpose in life. Unfortunately, school shootings in Turkey, we never ever had that kind of shootings in the country. But all of a sudden, we heard one after another, like 2 school shootings in 2 days, which really is disappointing for the Turkish community. So this really, I think, something that we should carefully consider everywhere in the world. And so it is about the yes, it's about psychological safety. It's about actually like online safety of our children. And so here I also want to mention, I mean, I had another text really, which I want to like read and talk to you, but because it's because of that school shootings, I wanted to also mention this. And there is a guy called, I'm sure everybody knows him here because you're at the end of the day, psychology-related people. Jonathan Haddett from the MIAI, New York University. He's a professor of social psychology, and he has a very famous book called Anxious Generation. And he also how we say, give full like 5 suggestions or advisors after his studies. He says that we should not let our children to have smartphones until they are 14, and we should not let our children have social media until they are 16. And we should help our children to be able to structure and to be able to how we say, plan their own offline games so that they will be creative, they will be collaborative, they will be communicative, they will get together, and we should not like enter into their plays. And here, I just want to have another point here. In our modern days, we do not let our children to get bored, really. I have my kid, and he's now with me here, and he is like only 9. And whenever he is bored, he asks me to give him my phone. But if he cries, I do give him my phone, but I check what he's doing there. But we should somehow be able to let them get bored so that they will be creative. If we do not let them to get bored, they will not be creative, because at the end of the day, whenever they need something, they simply get it. Okay, so they are never bored if we don't let them get bored, and that they will never be able to find a solution. So we need to really let them bored. And secondly, and I think fourthly, he says schools should be free of phones. And fifth suggestion, he says, we need to be very careful with the sleeping time of our children. They need to have enough sleep for their mental health, for their physical health. So these are the suggestions that he says. So these are all also about my issue. But the thing is that if I go back to my own talk, I can easily say that we are, I think, in this time, we are the most connected generation in human history, because, at the end of the day, you see that we are online and we are connected to many countries, and Indonesia, the US, Hong Kong, wherever. And yes, we are most connected generation in human history. Yet, loneliness is I can say somehow not. I'm not I don't want to put assertive sentences, but loneliness is still at an all-time high, because people still feel very lonely. There is 2 types of things here. When we are on social media, we have that illusion of social connectedness. And when we are again on social media, we also have that illusion of loneliness. Loneliness is also something great for humankind, human being. And sometimes when we are productive, when we are really doing something, I mean, it's great to be alone. It's great to read. And sometimes if we want to listen to our own selves, our own minds, it's great to be alone. But because of social media, unfortunately, and the algorithms, they do not let us to be alone. They do not let us to listen to our own selves, and they do not let us to be in a very, improving, developing loneliness. And so we have, suppose that today I want to go home. Let's say I want to go home and I want to be alone. I want to read something and you know, I want to listen to my own self and I want to have like a kind of pray or yoga or, you know, meditation, whatever. But because I have my phone on my side, I always check my phone. And unfortunately, I have that anxiety and anxiety. Although there is no notification from my phone, I still keep at looking at my phone. So there is no, how we say, there is no real loneliness here. On the other hand, when we say that we are, you know, I don't need to see my friend. I do not need to visit my, you know, family members because I am already texting them through WhatsApp. So this is also an illusion of social connectedness. We humankinds are social beings. And if we really want to have that social well-being and psychological well-being, we need to somehow get together and we need to somehow talk to each other. And although, you know, yes, Armia also talked about like AI issues and, you know, if AI, you know, everybody knows that we nowadays discuss about AI and if AI will be replacing him like psychologist or psychiatrist. But no, a bad no, because at the end of the day, we will always need a human kind to go and to talk and to feel better. So we need to keep in mind social connectedness. No, sorry, social. We are always somehow. We may always have that social illusion. And loneliness illusion, so we better not have this. The other thing is that here we because we are an illusion, you know, we are still in a very lonely, but we have like instant communication, we have global networks, we have constant digital presence anywhere, everywhere, but still, unfortunately, we people like especially the youth, especially the children, it's about like they feel very unseen, the relationship feel shallow, and the meaning quite feels fragile. So, and here I need to go. I mean, before we use, by the way, Salawati, you can anytime stop me. I don't know how long I have. I'm sorry, I'm talking. I'm not. Am I talking too fast?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
of
okay.
course. And
Okay. So yeah. So you can stop me. How many minutes do I have?
Yeah, you still have time for about 15 minutes.
Okay, it's great. Okay. So the thing is that before we let our kids, before we ourselves like use social media, go to online communities, we need to know the dangers of the online communities, and we need to have that self-awareness. But especially for the kids, I mean, I have to refer attachment styles as well. And you know, because we are somehow like the experts in psychology, people are coming to us and asking us too many questions about stuff. And unfortunately, I really personally like, you know, seen and heard like really horrific cases, you know, where kids have been sexually abused and where online sexually abused and where kids played like, you know, games which are really not for their, I mean, not suitable for their ages. And so that they had, again, a sexually, how we say, traumatic stories for them. So we need to have that secure attachment between the family and between the children and the family or the caregiver, so that whenever children has this kind of stuff, they will come to their parents and they will ask, "Hey, daddy or mommy, I saw something like this," and okay, say hello, hello. Okay, say hi, hello, say hello. Hello. Yes, good one. Okay. Yeah. All right. So my son is Omar. He is 9 years old. I think that he doesn't speak English that well enough, and hopefully he doesn't understand me at the moment. Um, so we like, you know, I have too many cases. Like really, they are horrifying. So for instance, the first one, I just want to like give it as an example. Unfortunately, I heard one of my like, you know, how we say, clients coming to me and asking, you know, my kid is playing something in like, he's only 8 years old and he is playing a panda game in which they are putting a stick onto the bottom of the panda, and then he says that his penis is also trembling, like, okay, so the kids is 8 years old going to father and saying, hey daddy, I'm playing this, and my penis is also trembling. So this is really something horrific. If we let our kids play whatever they like, they may have trauma, and they may have, simply skip one of their, developmental phases and to go to another phase, and there will be really huge trauma. And therefore, we need to be very careful, and we need to like have that secure attachment between the family and the kids, so that they will be able to simply come to us and share everything, every problem they have. If they don't, because they don't know, the kids doesn't know, the kids don't know what is right and what is wrong for them, and that they even they see, like, they may have, like, how we say, aggressive attacks, or they may see like violence attacks, or they may play something violent on social media, and they don't know if it is really dangerous, and they may still like very easily imitate what they see on digital games. Here, I don't say that, there are too many studies which suggest that no, digital games are not to be blamed for children to be, to be violent. However, we can still, as George Gerbner from 1970s, he had a study about, like, television and television's effects on mental health, and he talks about like mean world syndrome, which suggests that in mean world, people will believe that the world is very dangerous, so it's fine to do something unright or unrightful, so that so the kids, at the end of the day, we have that. I'm sure Albert Bandura and Bobo Dole experiment, and so the kids also learning somehow the violence. Anyway, and that was the very beginning of my talk, and so I will, from now on, for 10 minutes, let's say, for 10 or 15 minutes, I will be talking, hopefully, what psychological well-being really means, and why social connectedness is important, and how digital systems reshape our relationships, and how we can claim deep and meaningful connection on social media. The first thing is, I want to talk about, we usually go to how we say, social media to feel better. They are like escape media for us. Not we, but studies suggest that people are using social media or using any type of media to escape their daily problems. And everybody knows about uses and gratification theory. So we are trying to gratify what some of our needs. Some people are going to there for entertainment. Some people are going there for having information, and some people are going there for like connectedness. So we have some kind of like needs, and we go and meet them. But here I need to, if we want to distinguish between when to and how to go to social media, or how we say what to do, there is a term which is called eudaimonic well-being. I'm sure you know it. I think it's a great how we say, psychological term, and there's that subjective well-being. When we are online, we need to, or whatever we are doing, actually, we need to be aware of. We need to be awake, actually, and we need to do at all times. We need to have that self-awareness with us, and we need to know what we are doing and for why. So there is that, like subjective well-being, which asks, how happy am I? If I ask for how happy am I can do definitely anything. It's fine, you can do something. But for my personal experience suggests that we people need to have kind of limits, and we need to look for, I think, eudaimonic well-being instead of subjective well-being. And eudaimonic well-being is about meaning, purpose, personal growth, and living in an alignment with our values. Okay, so if we can go, we are doing something online, and we need to ask, am I doing something really meaningful? If we can do this, like eudaimonic well-being, then I think our social media activities will be much better. I think the other thing is that, as I talked also about PERMA model, in PERMA model, and Jung suggests that we need to have not even Jung or like Martin Seligman, but if we take Seneca, I think Seneca is also suggests that we need to have that positive relationships to have a better psychological well-being. So when we are on social media, we need to keep our distance with our algorithms. And I mean, we should not let algorithms to define who we are, and we should not let the algorithms define our relationship, because we are individuals, and we may have some kind of deficits, and that algorithms will know who we are, and the algorithms will direct us into some other, like maybe sometimes dangerous echo chambers. So here, it's like social connectedness is to felt sense of belonging and closeness to the others, to feel sense of belonging and closeness to the others. So we have it is the social connectedness is not quantity of interaction, it is not number of the followers, but social connectedness is the emotional wellness or emotional closeness, and it is mutual care, it is communication, and it is psychological presence, and it is also social presence, and it is also about cognitive presence, so social connectedness. So but when we are very much dependent on quantity, then we are not actually looking for social connectedness. We are looking only about the numbers. There is a term again, I think I saw it in Jung-Chul Han's book, which is called quantified self. So we have, after the algorithmic world, after the digital media, we started to define ourselves with the numbers only. Like, if Akmal is good, he should have that many followers, and he should have that many, how we say it, that many likes, like many and many and many. So we are defining our personality based on the numbers. So we are looking for, like, how many articles does he have, like, and many, but we do not talk about the quality of our friendships, quality of our followers, or quality of what we are really doing. So here in on social media, we need to put this clearly. Connectivity is not always about connectedness. We can be online all day, and we can talk about, we can talk to hundreds of people, but we can still be very invisible, and we can still be very alone. So here, like, social connectedness should be somehow related to social well-being. Well, what is social well-being? Like, if you so social well-being expands from the individual to the society, but how we can have that psychological well-being and social well-being, and they both predict each other, like psychological well-being and social well-beings. So if we feel a part of community, if we trust each other, if we believe that our community is really meaningful, if we believe that our relationship is meaningful, if I feel that I'm contributing to that community, and if I feel that that community is really helping me to develop and improve and feel better, then we are socially, we have that social well-being. But suppose that we are online and we are connected and we have thousands of followers, but we do not actually contribute to anything, and we do not feel that belonging. So here the question is, do I matter to others, and does society make sense? So this is, if we can answer this question in a positive way, yes, then we have that social well-being. But if we do not feel the part of community, okay, suppose that Akmal is a very famous guy, and he has thousands of followers. Does that really mean that he is, he's socially a well guy? No, not really, because nobody knows each other. Actually, I know nobody, and people are following me. But still, yes, we can do great things on social media. At the end of the day, we can, really contribute to the community, and if there are like many followers, I can do something for that. I'm not saying that social media is that bad and that bad, but we need to like distinguish between the reality and the online worlds, okay? And so salawat, I'm going on. That's fine, right? Yeah. Okay. So the point here is like meaning. I think is the core of human life. I think the meaning is core of human life. Whatever we are doing, and we're in no matter in any kind of relationship we need to look for the meaning. We human beings are not only pleasure-seeking beings. That's very important. We are not only pleasure-seeking beings, okay? We have our limitations, and we sometimes need to like have that delay gratification skills, okay? I cannot go to social media, I cannot go to online media whenever I like, okay? And I cannot do anything whatever I like. I need to like stop my desires, and I need to control them, and I need to have that emotion regulation so not to do something bad. So we are not only pleasure seeking beings, okay? So we are actually, on the contrary, I think, meaning seeking beings, okay? That is quite important. So, but yes, meaning comes from what we are doing. Meaning's coming from our mastery in something. Meaning comes from relationship, and meaning comes from responsibility, and meaning comes from contribution. And yes, as Maslow put it out, meaning comes from transcendence and self-realization. That is important. Okay, so when meaning is absent, that is important too, I think. When meaning is absent, pleasure loses the depth of it. And when meaning is absent, freedoms creates anxiety. And when meaning is absent, choices become very overwhelming, because we will not be able to actually know what to select for our future and what to choose for our future. So because the social media unfortunately also creates a paradox of choice for us. Like algorithmic world creates products of choice. I'm not being happy because I'm online at all times, even now, because I have, this is the problem of modern world, not only the social media. We have too many options, but we need to teach us how to be satisfied with something. And when we are satisfying, and because the point here is that I think social media does not allow us to focus on our time. Social media does not allow us to be in flow. Because we are in flow, because we are not in flow, unfortunately, we are not able to cherish what we are doing, and we are not able to know the value of our times, and we are not therefore able to stay into flow. I am in, suppose that I will be, by the way, that which is great, I will be in Indonesia in July and until August, which is great for me. But suppose that I am there in Indonesia, and I'm making the most of my time, but the time does not, because I'm also on social media, I'm not able to enjoy what I'm doing, because I see people are doing something else in other countries. So, and therefore, I'm not being happy, because I have too many options and I have too many choices. And I say, I wish I could be somewhere else. So we need to have that meaning, and if we are in time somewhere, we need to like make the most of time. Okay, so the importance of a positive social environment is important here, and as I said, in social connectedness and in social well-being, a positive social environment, provides us like emotional safety, validation, trust, and support. So if we think that we are online And if we do not see these, if our online communities and online connectedness does not provide us these issues, like these points, like emotional safety, validation, and trust and support, so that we better, even in real life and in online life, we better keep our distance with our social connectedness. So because at the end of the day, a positive social environment will reduce our depression and anxiety, and will increase our resilience, because we will be able to learn something from our social environment, and positive social environment will enhance both our subjective and eudaimonic well-being. The point here is that, yes, sometimes we can regulate our emotions alone, if we have that self-awareness and if we have that skills. But let me explain you this, and I'm sure everybody knows it already. It is much easier for us to regulate our emotions through our relationships if we have like positive relationships. I'll tell another thing. In an Islamic perspective, there is a very famous poet from Iran, and Iran civilization and culture is great. And I hope nobody will ever be able to destroy Iran's culture and civilization, by the way. There's like some kind of lunatic, like, if you destroy the culture and civilization, you will destroy humanity, and you will be destroying the savings of the humanity. And if we destroy the culture, the culture, then we will not be able to see the positive contribution of that culture to the humanity, and we will not be able to transfer it to the next generations. There is a very famous poet from Iran called Saad Shirazi. I'm sure many people already know him. He asks this. I mean, he actually like puts this. I asked. I don't know how to put this in English, but there is a type of soil which smells very well. Okay, which smells very well. I don't know what it is in English, but this is kind of like story. Maybe it's not totally right, but he says that, I asked that kind of soil, why do you have that great and fantastic and catchy and lovely smell, okay, smell, right? And then the soil says, the smell is not actually mine, but once upon a time I was a soil for a rose. That's why I had that smell, okay? So we need to know who we are with. If we want to be better, if we want to develop ourselves, and if we want to like smell well, so our friends and our communities should be good guys, all right? Okay. And at the end of the day, and here I need to also mention social cognition and social perception. They both, I think, to some extent suggest that no matter who you are, no matter what your title is, and no matter at what level you are, at the end of the day, you are very much impacted by your community, and your mind is very much, and your mind, yes, your ideas, your opinions may change by your community and by your surroundings. So we need to be very careful anyway about that. The other thing is that the believer, Salawati, shall I stop? Oh, shall I go on? I still have too many things to talk about, actually.
Excuse me, but your time is over.
Oh, really? Okay. So the last things, and I believe that as we are I mean, there are, when we talk about Viktor Frankl and logotherapy and existential psychology and positive psychologists, we can have, or we can find, a real connection between existential psychologists and, Viktor Frankl and, even Martin Seligman and Abraham Maslow. And here, for instance, in a Quran, in the verses and ayahs, says that like cooperate in goodness, okay, and they, the Prophet also like somehow told us to, like, for instance, visit the sick people, supporting the poor, maintaining kinship. So this is like social connectedness, and social connectedness is also, Islam somehow related to integrating social well-being and meaning and responsibility. Anyway, so I'm sorry about that. I hope you could somehow understand me. I know that I'm quite fast, but I cannot stop myself somehow while talking. And thank you very much for listening to me. And again, thank you very much for inviting me to this fantastic event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Akmal, for your unforgettable, insightful presentation. Based on your presentation on social connectedness and psychological well-being in the algorithmic society, we are reminded that in today's digital world, connection is no longer simply about being linked through technology, but about the quality and depth of human relationship. It highlights that excessive digital engagement, such as smartphone and social media use, can significantly affect psychological adjustment, often mediated by the level of social connectedness individuals experience. This suggests an important paradox of the algorithmic era. While we are more connected than ever, we may also experience reduced genuine connection, which in return impacts emotional well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, our third speaker is Dr. Frank Dunn. He is Associate Professor at Department of History, National Cheng Kung University. He previously worked as Senior Lecturer in FAS IAS, University of Brunei Darussalam. He obtained a PhD in history from Yale University, specializing in history of Indonesia and Southeast Asia. He also holds an Master of Humaniora in History from Gajah Mada University, as well as a Master of Art in Indonesian from Lund University, Sweden. As Indonesianist, he is regularly involved in multidisciplinary initiative and is founder and chair of the International Indonesia Forum. His major research interests include the reaction of both indigenous rules and ordinary people to Japanese colonialism in the Netherlands, Indies, and Southeast Asia during World War II. He is also interested in the history of both world wars in Asia and the spread of ideologies such as nationalism and Islam, especially in the context of colonial empires in Asia. Today, he's going to talk about historical memory in the algorithmic era, Islamic thought, and digital identity in Indonesia. Dr. Frank, you have 40 minutes and you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, let me thank you first, everyone.
Before that, excuse me, Professor, would you mind to move closer your microphone like this? Yeah, increase your sound.
Excuse me, are you talking to me?
Yes, Professor, would you mind to move closer your microphone like this? So
Like this, you mean like this?
Yes.
Oh, better? Oh, okay, yeah, because I had some internet issues before, something with my computer. Well, thank you. First, I would like to thank the Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta for inviting me, and it's my great pleasure to join this wonderful, or this very challenging, actually very interesting and challenging and very diverse conference. And I'm very happy to be on the panel with my other two distinguished speakers. So let me now try to contribute a little bit to the discussion. Can you hear me okay now? Is it all right? Can you hear me or not?
Yes,
yes.
Oh, all right. Okay. Because once I start talking, it's hard to stop. So actually, I became a professor 2 years ago. But it's true, I'm originally from Belgium, actually. And I was interested in Indonesian history. So I started studying Indonesian, and then I went to Jogja, to Gajah Mada, and after that to the United States. And then I was in Brunei. I enjoyed being in Brunei also, Dr. Umi. That was really fun. And but then I went to Taiwan because of practical reasons actually. They offered me a long-term position, basically. Okay, anyway, so let's start. There we go. Let me try and reduce this here. Yes, okay. Okay, so actually the question, of course, is what does a historian have to do with the future of civilization? But it's important to realize that history determines our heritage and roots, which has already been mentioned by Dr. Umi and Dr. Emel. We have to look for the future. We have to look at our past, and it's very logical that if we want to know where we are going, we have to look at where we were, and the traditions that we have had, Islamic traditions and other traditions, are very important in order for us to be able to see where in the future we will end up. And especially now in the era of the algorithmic era, and AI and internet, our lives are being impacted and quite severely. It's also the first time in history that changes have happened so rapidly. There have been technological changes before, but the changes are going on now are really fast, and it is hard for us as humans to keep up. But this is the challenge, this is the world we live in, and we have not much choice. If we are also talking about the future of civilization, this is quite interesting and complicated in itself because civilization is a very general word, and there are many layers to identity, and these have to be studied in detail. Now we all depend on internet and internet sources. And as Dr. Umi was saying, the Quran is digitized, access is now open to everybody. This is on the one hand a huge opportunity, but it's also can be overwhelming. And that was also the point of Professor Imel. We live in a social world, but we are all sitting in front of our computer. And I totally agree with Professor Emel's suggestion. There is a value in having a conference in person where through discussions you can have the ability to see and connect more and also understand more and even work together better and more. It's a process that needs that human closeness, and this is of course what we don't have when we are sitting alone in front of our screen talking to the screen. I'm a little bit pessimistic about the internet, AI, so I wrote the trap of the algorithm. Basically, this algorithm is a lens, and this is a lens that controls what people see and what they use. The AI, when they use AI for research, they are basically, as some of my previous speakers already mentioned, they are caught in some kind of filter that influence the knowledge that they get. And this directly influences and steers what Muslims and also others think and remember about their past, especially, or how they understand Islam if they use AI as a resource. And this, in my opinion, is very, very complicated, and we will get into. So it bypasses the knowledge of Islamic scholars on the various interpretations of Islam that, as my previous speaker already mentioned, are very essential and should not be done. But it also bypasses the traditional centers of learning of the homegrown institutions. Various local traditions and local contexts are all basically largely forgotten on the internet, or are largely not really touched upon or closed felt closely when using only the internet as a source. So the algorithm is not yet good enough to encapsulate all this in its synthesis. Well, and for instance, I gave a very simple example actually, right? So we all talk about the Islamic world, but each segment of the Islamic world has, of course, its own identity. We have various monarchies with their own tradition, their own culture, their own uniqueness, which are all part of Islam, and this is a very important element of identity formation, digital identity, and remembering a digital identity. If you want to do that, you have to ask whose identity. So in my talk, I focus a little bit about Indonesian identity, but you can ask the same issue when you are talking about the identity of everybody who is part of civilization, or in this case, Islamic civilization. Um, Other influences, like for instance the Ottoman Empire with a 600-year influence, that those have a tremendous legacy that also basically color or influence the way we remember that history. The same with the Persian Empire, for instance, after the 7th century Islamization. There again, you have this huge different impact and different color in a way that is all part of the debate, all part of the discussion, all part of the knowledge. So where I'm trying to go to with my talk is that with the use of AI and the use of the internet, this nuance, this sharpness that only can be obtained from scholarly attention, by knowledge, by learning, by this long painstaking process, is all too easy. It's almost like fast food that we're consuming. And this is a problem that, in my opinion, AI and the digital era brings to all of us, that we should be aware of, and that luckily this seminar brings attention to and allows us to fully realize. And this is why that is an important element. And if you look, and ironically, I wrote there Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, as I think most people will be familiar with from Indonesia. You have on the one hand this unity in diversity. It really encapsulates the slogan, encapsulates the world, or in this case Indonesia as a country, very well, compared to the general algorithmic synthesis. That's a huge problem, because the internet and the untrained users of the internet, they do not have this background to comprehend the differences in local variations of Islamic identity, of different identities as well. Unity in diversity, either national or faith-based, is always, in a sense, a matter of compromise. And that was what Professor Imel was saying as well, right? Where you have to be socially, and you have to in contact with people who do not necessarily say or think the same thing that you do, because that enriches us and that makes us better. Whereas with general algorithmic synthesis, it's just one output that applies for everybody, and that is actually misses so much of what makes us unique as humans. Humans always differentiate from their neighbors and somehow always compete, interact, and struggle. And this is important, this psychological elements of compromise, tolerance, ethics, religious and moral teachings, they all play an important role. And then I found this example. For instance, Kyoto University develops AI monk robot. Maybe you've seen it, equipped with Buddhist scriptures. And this happened just recently. In maybe I can maximize this a little bit. It happened in February. You can see the news there. I hope everybody can see. February 24, 2026. Just not even a month ago. Yeah, that's a huge problem, because technically the robot in Kyoto, in the temples, these robots, there are not enough monks anymore. So what have they done? They have given all the Buddhist scriptures to the monk, and now the monk is saying wise words from Buddha. So you can see the problem. So again, this trap of the algorithm, right? Islamic thought, that is very important. So who is the one doing the thinker? Can the robot learn it? Can you give all this thinking of Islam to the robot and then have the robot play the imam? This is very, very, very tricky. Of course, we can say now, no, we still need humans. Yes, but there's the question, right? We still need humans. If AI and the algorithm get better and better and better, can that be an issue? I used to be very optimistic and saying we will always need psychologists, we will always need human experts. I still think that, but I do believe that there are some dangers. And the dangers are, of course, that Islam needs experts, as I wrote, but it takes us a long time to become an expert. Everybody who is an expert today has spent years and years and years of obtaining this deeper understanding through analysis, learning, and understanding, and then obtaining this nuance. And that is hard to do. Because you need to have this detailed understanding, cannot just come from a robot or cannot just come from AI. It really needs this process. However, the reality is, in my personal findings with my students, there are less and less opportunities for beginners because more and more people just want to take the easy road, the easy way. People just want to ask ChatGPT. People don't want to read books anymore. People just want to have the quick fix because of time or whatever reasons. People are naturally lazy a little bit. So people who are willing to study or who have to be trained to study, that is an issue. And maybe we will discuss it in the discussion later. So I see also there are less opportunities for beginning teachers, simply because if AI can do the basics, then what opportunities are there for teachers who still need to learn a little bit? That is an issue, and you can see that in the business world as well. There are fewer entry positions, so to say. And here you can see, I gave some examples. You have ChatGPT, you have Google Translate. For instance, I live in Taiwan, but I cannot speak Chinese. They said I didn't need it, but actually in reality, it's useful to have some Chinese. But so I rely on Google Translate the whole time. I have assistants as well. But basically, Google Translate for me, it's better than nothing. It's just a practical need that I have. And there I gave another example. You have Ukraine captures enemy Russian position using only robots, no humans. The future is already on the front line. April 15, 2026. And there under that you see some kung fu robots that were on Chinese TV. And there the Buddha robot teaching the teachings of Buddha in the Temple of Kyoto. And also already many years ago, decades ago now, in 1997, the first time that an AI robot could win against a human at chess. So these are all issues. Also, the issue of the internet and sources of AI form a kind of a forest or a swamp of different sources. Who to believe and who to follow in this very limited time that we all have available for study? That's a big problem. Then there is also the problem of application of this knowledge for everybody as an individual, especially in cases of identity or important matters such as religion. Historical memory is also very quickly constructed in this way. So casual observation will always lead to, or generally lead to, generalization and only a limited ability. And that's also limiting because it doesn't use our psychological abilities that our mind has and that are brought out through training, through interaction, and through teaching. But on the other hand, digital does have the advantage that it can reach large groups of people. It can be beneficial in that sense. It's a privilege for me to be able to talk to scholars in Indonesia, in Turkey, in Brunei, in many other countries. So we can share our knowledge together, which would not be possible if we only were stuck in our little countries. So, for instance, I give the example here in Taiwan, there are many Indonesian migrants, and they form these kind of Islamic prayer groups online. And they have one preacher who then explains the teachings, and they all join. They can all participate. If that wasn't there, that would be less access for them to experience their identity. That's also an issue. it's almost like a compromise. Yeah, better than no access at all to an extent. So the internet has many uses, and I there agree with Dr. Umi. We have to use it with caution. It's not totally wrong, but be very careful. And then there's also in my field especially, and many fields I think, the translation issue. Thought, it's very important, very precise. It matters. You must understand the speaker, the background situation, and this is of course what history also explains in how to understand historical sources. Now, of course, I'm talking about the Quran being written in Arabic. Very, very complicated. We have to, do we have to? It's a question you could ask. Is it essential to speak Arabic perfectly? And how can we do that when we are not native speaker? All of us, our English is pretty good, but of course we are probably not native speakers of English when we start. That limits us compared to somebody who is expert in English or who was trained as a baby basically from when he or she was born to master English. So the ability to master language is extremely complicated. And as I said, I have studied in Indonesia. I can speak some Indonesian. It's really complicated to go to a level, obtain a level where you can use the language in a fluent way. And it's it's a learning process that constantly continues, where you can gain ability and then lose it a little bit and then gain again. So this is a problem because the sources are not forgiving. The sources are written in an excellent or in the very precise way, and this interpretation requires scholars who are really expert. You have to be an expert of Arabic to understand Al Quran. And who can do that if you are not trained in it? So this creates a whole kind of set of questions of who can be an interpreter and who cannot. So I looked at two basic examples to test our digital identity and the different layers. And the first one, I just took a very basic Wikipedia source and I looked at Ummah as an Arabic word for Muslim identity, the nation, religious community, and they distinguish it with the Shab there, which is the people, the nation of common ancestry of geography. So there are already these different nuances. And then I went and I asked ChatGPT, source ChatGPT, as you can see there, and ChatGPT tried to explain it's the central ideas of Islam. It refers to the global community of Muslims united by their shared faith rather than by nationality, ethnicity, or language. And then the core meaning, I want to watch my time here because I still have a few slides left. So religious versus real world reality. And then they explained in reality, Muslims are divided by nationality, ethnicity, and language, political systems, different groups there, Sunni Islam, Shia Islam. So while Ummah is a powerful ideal, it doesn't mean Muslims act as one single or political social group. Basically, for the basic understanding, the algorithm is not too bad. It's not too bad. But the problem is, are we happy with not too bad? That's of course the issue. And then I asked some differences. I asked some differences between pan-Islamism and Ummah as a concept and how you could use that. I was originally thinking I would talk more about pan-Islamism, but then I found another example that I think is more valuable for our discussion. So basically, bottom line, Ummah does exist as a real influence, but it doesn't function like a unified system that automatically shares burdens equally. Now, I'm sure that experts will already be able to contradict or even explain more, but these experts are not on the internet, or these experts are not in that AI tool. And this is an issue. Of course, we can go to some websites and we can learn more. This is important. But again, you're also stuck with the human who is your teacher. And the issue with the internet is who is the gatekeeper, or who is not the gatekeeper. I don't like that word, but who is the person teaching you? As a historian, you should always try to check your source. You should always try to find out who and teaches on what topic. So my findings are basically for basic understanding. the internet, AI, it's good for very basic understanding, good enough, but it is not that much better than what the original human sources had, and it's a very lonely, isolated process, which limits our understanding that must grow through discussion and interaction. I have the same idea as Dr. Emil there. One key, of course, problem is translation issue. Very thought, very precise and important. It matters. So to understand it, we must understand the speaker. Again, I'm repeating here, and this is essential because the sources are written in their original languages. So for historians, and I think for many scholars, the problem is that the internet is too much of a filter. The lens of AI takes away the personal scholar. But on the other hand, there is not so many, not so many. There are not so many alternatives. We are limited by access, resources. So who's the expert? Who's responsible for writing what? It's all very unclear. So AI is a lazy solution, but in reality is actually quite dangerous. And in my opinion, it can erode, it can limit our identity. But sometimes practical issues play a role. We need solutions, and sometimes there is no alternative. So where I'm going to go with this whole story is, okay, we are stuck with AI. We should use it, but what else can we do? But we must be very, very, very careful, and we must also make sure that there is space outside of AI. So I very much agree with the idea, for instance, to not let people get cell phones and AI at a too early age, because personalities must develop. And I also totally agree, careful with how much of AI in the classroom, because otherwise you get this situation where the students they rely on AI all the time and they don't write anymore because the writing takes so much time. So what can a scholar and student do? Read the sources yourself, leave the computer to do it. It's difficult. So always try to check. Easy to say, hard to do, I know. But the reality that we are faced with, and that will probably increase, is overuse of internet. We already see it now. Children or students have a very limited internet attention span. Everybody's just watching videos on TikTok. So previously people read books. Now people watch movies. Now people watch YouTube clips, and usually while doing something else. On the other hand, sources and history are now accessible to everybody. Everybody can become a historian, can show his interest in history. Sometimes that's very good because you can go very deep in a topic. But it's also not always so simple. So there will be a challenge for us as scholars to adapt to this changing world. Good quality work remains essential. Good quality work is essential. The problem is, of course, is it worth learning to become an expert yourself? Or is internet good enough? Or is AI good enough? Or even the robot? Can the robot teach the Quran? Probably not, of course, right? I deliberately make this a little bit provocative. It's a huge problem. But on the other hand, the internet is there. It's somehow unavoidable. And then I used a very clear example. This is a Wikipedia website. I opened it yesterday, so I think you can open it right now. And it is about a governor of Indonesia in before World War II, and his name was Bonifacius Cornelis de Jonge. And I want to attract your attention to that point there. I will read it in Indonesian. I hope that's okay. De Jonge adalah sosok otoriter dan tidak mau mendengar kritik. Sebuah kalimatnya yang terkenal ialah, kami telah memerintah di sini, and he means in the Netherlands Indies, he means in Indonesia, selama 300 tahun dengan cambuk dan tongkat, dan kami harus tetap melakukannya untuk 300 tahun lagi. So he says basically, we have ruled here already for 300 years with the whip and the stick, and we have to do that. We do have to continue to do that for 300 years more. And the source looks very okay. This is Wikipedia, right? So everybody, well, we all say don't use this in the classroom, but everybody does. And you see two references, number 2 and number 3. And there I look. Number 2, John Ingleson. Yes, From Jail to Jail, a very famous scholar from Australia. He wrote From Jail to Jail, a legitimate book. Excellent, right? But the footnote says after critic, right? He doesn't want to hear critic. Okay, correct. Then the second footnote after the sentence, it says, de jonge gouverneur-generaal yang membuang pada pendiri bangsa. Tirto ID, accessed on 2020 08/18. Okay, well, this is the process that you have to do, in my opinion, and for sure, if you want to check, always check your source. So I go and I click on that website, and there it is. It's from Tirto ID, and it says the jonge gouverneur general. Okay, okay. Then I go and check, and I have written it a bit closer. The article says, so it has a reference of Takashi Shiraishi, very important scholar from Japan. Reference, okay, no problem. Then it says he doesn't want to listen to criticism. The second paragraph, again, reference from John Ingleson. Even the last one, Rudolf Mracek, also important, about Syahrir, Politik dan Pengasinan di Indonesia. A reference again. But the middle paragraph, it looks like there is a reference, but there's nothing. It just says, except for his authoritarian characteristic, he's also very, you cannot doubt his enthusiasm for colonialism. And then he has the sentence again, we have ruled here for 300 years with the whip and the stick, and we have to do it again, or we have to continue to do it for 300 years longer. There's no reference. So the Wikipedia article, and actually, by the way, I have been to Banda, which is just for entertainment. I had this. I have been to Banda, where Sultan Syahrir and Cipto Mangunkusumo and Hatta and Mister is not Mister. It means Meester. It means master-in-law. He's a lawyer. Iwa Kusuma Sumantri was living in exile. So I have been to their house. It's really fascinating to stand there and to realize that all these nationalist heroes were there. And it's good that Indonesia preserved this as a historical monument. But the point is, right, the quote on the Indonesian resource internet source, the Wikipedia page, is totally wrong. It's very, and I will show you, actually, I will show. The Malay version and the Javanese versions are better. Right? The Malay version just says Jonge was a nobleman who wanted a government that was strong in the Netherlands and in the Netherlands Indies, and one of his expressions was, "We have been in Indies, Netherlands Indies, for 300 years, and we probably have to we for certain we certainly have to be here, or can be here, for another 300 years more." And then he says it in Javanese. Okay, let's, for fun, I will try to read. Well, I don't have to read it, right? So awe ke dewe wis in India, and I think siji loro telu tulung atus tahun suwene awake dewe mesti kudu bisa ingkene tulung atus tahun mane. There you go, right? So I don't know. This is definitely better than the sentence in the other in the Indonesian version, right? We must verify the source. But how can you do that? These languages here, we have English, we have Indonesian, we have Dutch, Arabic, not easy to learn. How do you get to a level high enough? And once you have a level good enough, then you have to have the critical mind to examine the past. Here in Taiwan, I have many helpers who can speak really good English because they know I cannot speak Chinese. Not everybody who is good at English has a good critical mind. That's another problem. It's a different skill. By the way, this is the original newspaper interview from 1936, where he gave his talk. So you can see his picture here. the Landvoogd in ons midden, that's the Governor General there. And here where I made a circle, he has written the text. I've written it again here, April 1936 interview, and I will read immediately the English translation. I think that now that we have worked here in the Indies for 300 years, there will have to come another 300 years extra before the Indies will be ready for a form of independence, right? So that means Indonesia will become independent in 2236, right? But the issue, so it's already quite a stern, or he's not very pro-Indonesia, right? He's very clearly conservative. But the issue is the internet source is not the same as kami telah memerintah di sini selama 300 tahun dengan cambuk dan tongkat. It doesn't exist. This quote is fake. It was created during the time of nationalism to create an anti-Dutch feeling and to make people feel more emotional. And this was then taken up and became part of knowledge. And there are not enough experts to say this is wrong and this is right. So this case, imagine the problem. Wikipedia, with sources, right? It looks legitimate, but it's totally wrong. Am I doing okay with time? Can anybody help me here? Because I cannot see. Am I okay? How much time do I still have left?
You still have 5 minutes left.
5 minutes. Okay, let's race through. So it looks legitimate, but it's totally wrong. And that's very dangerous because this is important knowledge about identity, about digital, about the memory of civilization, and about the future. So how can the untrained historian know this? You can see the challenges, right? Now imagine that same problem that I just showed you. It's real, right? I gave you a real example that I just found yesterday. Actually, I knew a little bit before. That I found and examine, imagine that same problem with something as important as Islam, as Islamic thought. It's very problematic. Truth and precision matter. Very, very problematic. Actually, ChatGPT, in this sense, was a little bit smarter than Wikipedia because I tried to type in Indonesian because I wanted to make sure that ChatGPT could find it. I said, find for me this quote. And it said, there is no primary source that can be verified in the archives. It's not documented. It doesn't exist. So I said again, where can you find it? And it said it doesn't exist. So actually, it did say though, right? There are many sources on the internet that have this sentence about the whip and the stick, but it's usually in popular articles about history on the internet, blogs and forums, some copies from books that are for study or just summaries, some very basic secondary academic sources that quote it again. So basically, the sentence exists, but it's fake. It was never history. It's history now, but in a different context. Anyway, I have 5 minutes left. So fake news is everywhere, and it's getting worse because AI produces slop, low quality content. Sometimes websites are also bad, right? But it's very dangerous for students and scholars who are expecting to be educated by AI. The problem is to fight fake news, we can end up also in a situation of censorship, which is also not good, but it can be helpful perhaps because to avoid people getting in contact with negative information at a too early age. But we also need to be thinkers. We need to be educated. We are all very isolated and alone. Too much information can make people scared. People feel they cannot handle these complicated problems, so they give the decision-making power to people who are smarter, supposedly, and they trust them. But how do we know who is smarter? These are all problems. No, I'm almost done. So, what answers can we give? Well, or what answers have I put here? It's complicated. Well, I would say we try to keep an open mind. We try to live righteously, be disciplined, and try to be honorable. Ethics is not the absolute answer because you need knowledge as well, but it definitely helps. Education, study and the teaching of religion, Islam, other religions as well, ethics and morality are all very essential, because it has to be about, is what you put out there the best you can do, and are you being a truthful and honest person? So the world's mistake today is to undervalue these skills because they seem to lack practical application. People want to study technological stuff that makes money. Engineering, medicine, important also, but there must also be room for wisdom, study, ethics, religion, understanding, tolerance, and thought based on honest knowledge. So it's still better to have unity in diversity than just a general algorithmic synthesis making everybody the same. Okay, I will stop my talk here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Frank Dunn, for your insightful and thought-provoking presentation. Your presentation reminds us that in the algorithmic era, history is no longer simply something we inherit, but something that is increasingly filtered, reconstructed, and even shaped by digital system. We are challenged to recognize that algorithms do not merely provide information. They act as a lens that can influence how we understand the past, interpret Islamic thought, and construct our identity in the present. Importantly, his presentation highlights the risk of oversimplification, misinformation, and the loss of nuance, particularly when complex historical and religious knowledge is reduced to algorithmic summaries without proper scholarly verification. At the same time, it reminds us that while digital platforms offer accessibility and reach, they also require critical thinking, ethical awareness, and intellectual responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, now we open the floor for discussion. We warmly invite you to engage with our distinguished speaker by sharing your question or reflection or your critical insight. You may either raise your hand or to speak directly or write your question in the chat room. And before that, please state your name and your institution. Now, if there is no question, we already have several questions in the chat box.
Ayuhan. Raise hand. Ayuhan, raise hand.
Okay. Yes, Ayuhan Fadia Anissa. Go ahead.
May I say something? I'm sorry about that, but
yes,
because I will need to leave for another conference. What if I have the questions first? If any, if the audience have any questions for me, I'm sorry about that, really.
Okay. So actually, there is one question for Professor Akmel from Azam Sukri. It says, how do algorithmically curated social environments transform the very meaning of social connectedness, and what theoretical framework can we use to critically assess whether such connections genuinely contribute to physiological well-being or merely simulated? That's
Okay.
the question.
Yeah, thank you very much for the great question. Really, Azam Shukri, very good to have you ask you this question. The point here is that, I mean, it depends on how we are on social media. But let me briefly say that, I mean, the algorithmically, I don't know, like social media or algorithmically, yes, created social environments do not only, like, you know, change how we connect. Actually, they also reshape what counts for us as a connection. That is important. So like on social media, let's say in real life social connections, we usually, you know, get together. There's kind of sense of belonging, there's kind of reciprocity, and there's that mutual recognition. And like, we have, when we get together, we like share together our moral values, and we feel better. However, in that algorithmic environment, we are not usually, yes, we do sometimes, but we are not usually looking for like real sense of belonging or real reciprocity. But it is kind of like algorithmic environment, kind of organized around visibility, let's say like responsiveness, or let's say, you know, the numbers, the personalization, or let's say data-driven relevance. So I think social connectedness in real life is changing through an algorithmic social connectedness. So the social connectedness here may change from a meaningful tie, like may change from a meaningfully tie to others, toward a more platform oriented or maybe like say mediated experience. So and then we are like we are continuously there exposed to too much information overload, and we are always updated, and we have to like we look for like always engaged in that social algorithmic environment. Here we may feel like socially plugged in, not like socially deeply known, supported, or embedded in a trustworthy community. So it does depend on where we are, but I think this is important. We are socially plugged in, but without actually being deeply supported, deeply known, deeply cherished, and deeply linked to a trustworthy community. Because here appearance is important. Here instant messaging is important. He's let's say parasocial connection is important, not real connection is important. So it is much depends on like numbers, attention capture, identity performance, and kind of behavioral prediction. I hope that works. We cannot hear you, Salawati.
Thank you, Professor. Dr. Frank wants to ask you a question. If you
yeah, please, yeah, we'll be more than happy.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I really enjoyed your presentation, but since you have to go, I want to keep the question short. So I totally understand your logic. I have the same problems, but the question is this: what for those people who have no other alternative, like the example I gave about these Indonesian migrants in Taiwan, don't have access to Islamic culture, so they at least they still have these prayer groups online or sort of with their cell phones. So my question is, yeah, should we throw? I mean, throw it away? That's too strict, but is there some value to it, or is it, do you consider it so limiting that psychologically it's going to cause damage? Is it better than nothing? Is basically my question.
Yes, great question. Thank you very much, Frank. And it was great to listen to you too as well. Really, your presentation was also great. But the point here is that no, I'm not saying it's definitely better than nothing. And I'm not saying that like online communities are really bad and they are not doing very well for us, and we are not socially connected. And I say yes, we can also have that sense of belonging through online communities, and we may have great social well-being and psychological well-being and social connectedness through online communities as well, which is great. As you said, you know, at the end of the day, people may not have real way connections and communities. So yes, I'm talking about like at the very beginning of my talk, I said like positive social relationships are important, and these positive social relationships could be set up or like made up on online communities as well. So it depends on what we are consuming on social media, in what content we're looking for. You know, if we have great communities on social media, that will help us like being like have sense of belonging and being cherished and supported and accepted and approved, and that will definitely help increase our psychological well-being and social well-being. But still, I mean, it is definitely better than nothing. But then we need to have that critical thinking in our mind, and we need to always have that have our personal like self-awareness with us. But yes, it depends on what we are consuming on social media, and it is definitely better than nothing. And yes, I mean, or we can have like social connections in real life, and we can also have social connections on online media at the very same time. But we should not forget that if we are looking for having like like Instagram social connections or Twitter social connections or Facebook social connections, algorithms there may create a quite dangerous atmosphere or echo chambers for us. So like we need to have that media literacy skills. If we are always together with like-minded people, we could be quite distant to the others. So anyway, if we have that media literacy skill with us always and critical thinking with us always, then online social connections are also good. Is that okay? Hopefully okay. Yeah. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, Professor. The next is a question for Dr. Umi Faiza binti Haj. Question is from Azam Sukri. To
Sorry,
what
but
extent?
what if
Oh,
Salawat, I'm
yeah.
sorry. May I
Apologize for
leave?
that.
Would you allow me to leave?
Yes, bro.
Yes.
I'm really sorry, and thank you very much for everything for the organization. And it was really an honor for me to talk here and to talk to or to meet online meeting like with Frank, Fitria, and Salawati and Amir Rahman. Jazakumullah khair, really. And
Thank
for
you
the
very much as well, bro.
Thank you so much for being with us, Professor.
Thank you.
it's my
See
honor.
you in
And
Indonesia. Inshallah.
yeah. Hopefully, I will be there in July, between July the 15th and August 15th. And Frank, are you in Indonesia? No, not. Are you? Frank is not in Indonesia, are
No,
you?
not right now, but I will probably also come for the summer because
So great. So maybe we will have time to meet in person. So we will have real social connectedness. That will be fantastic. Yeah, inshallah. And thank you very much for the audience that are listening to us, really. Thank you. And take care. Very nice to meet you. And assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wabarakatuh.
Well,
Well,
respected everybody's schedule, so I want to read two questions for Dr. Faiza and
Yeah, okay.
Dr.
All
Frank.
right.
The
Yes.
question is from Azam Sukri to Dr. Umi Faiza. What
Yeah.
extent might the integration of artificial intelligence in Islamic studies reshape epistemological authority, and how can we critically safeguard the role of human scholars against the risk of algorithmic reductionism in interpreting religious knowledge?
All right. Thank you, Salawati. So, inshallah, I will try to answer these questions. Maybe Dr. Frank Don may add on later, inshallah. So, alhamdulillah, if we see today, AI is changing how people learn Islam. Before we learn from teachers and scholars. But now many people you ask AI directly. So, if we see this, it's an issue that can make people trust AI more than real scholars. The integration of AI can shift some authority of knowledge from traditional scholars and institutions to digital systems that are faster and easier to access. So AI helps in searching text, analyzing information, spreading knowledge quickly, making learning more open and more accessible to more people. But however, this change is not fundamental. In Islam, as we know that the true sources of knowledge remains the Al-Quran, the Sunnah, and established scholarly methods. So AI, as I mentioned just now, is only a tool but not a replacement. So to protect the role of scholars today, scholars must remain as the main authority in interpreting Islam. So AI should be used as a support tool, not a decision maker. So Islamic principles and ethics must guide AI use, and students and scholars need critical thinking and digital awareness. There should be scholarly supervision to ensure accuracy. So today, the challenge of as teachers, as as lecturers, today we have to be more digital literate because nowadays the Gen Z are more advanced from the scholars and whatnot, but we cannot make ourselves behind more than AI. And these scholars and asatiza needs to be more obvious and maybe visible to the students more than AI, because I'm afraid that Nauzubillah min zalik, I'm afraid that these scholars who have hearts, who can build connections, eventually AI will build the connections with the students. All right. So maybe I can answer the next question to appreciate those people who asked earlier. It's a very interesting question asking about the framework of thinking in Islam. So, in Islam, yes, Islam does offer a clear and structured framework of thinking. It's not just about what to think, but how to think in disciplined, ethical, and purposeful way. In fact, this framework is highly relevant in the age of AI. So some tips maybe for us those AI users here. First things first is tawheed, unity of knowledge and purpose. In Islam, all knowledge is connected to oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the tawheed. This means that thinking is not fragmented. It's all are part of a unified worldview. So when using AI, the goal is not just efficiency, but to seek truth and benefit humanity in line with divine guidance. So in Islam, all knowledge is connected to the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning to say that we have to make sure that why we are using AI. Does it make us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or is it makes us far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And the next way of thinking is, of course, using our akal as our intellect and wahyu as revelation. So Islam balances human reasoning, our akal, with divine revelation, wahyu, Quran, and Sunnah. So akal helps us analyze, question, and explore. So wahyu guides us so that we don't go astray. So AI can assist the intellect, but it cannot replace revelation or moral judgment. And lastly is always the tadabbur and tafakkur, deep reflection. So that's why in the Quran, it repeatedly invites believers to think deeply. Do they not reflect? أَفَلَا يَتَفَكَّرُونَ? This shows that Islam encourages critical thinking, not just collecting information, but also understanding meaning and implications. So we might see AI retrieve information fast, but humans must reflect, interpret, and derive wisdom. Okay, so also that the third question that I have been asked today, we see nowadays that yes, AI is already shaping how people think, learn, and make decisions. But however, its influence is indirect and not the main source. In Islam, morality, akhlaq, always comes from the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah. And AI can support and assist, but it cannot replace these sources. So it brings us to the last question just now. Maybe AI is very good at explaining concepts steps by steps, giving instant feedbacks on exercises, adapting lessons to each student's level, automating routine tasks like giving quizzes, notes. But what AI cannot replace? AI cannot replace the teacher that builds human connections and trust, understands humans' emotions, motivations, and struggles, shapes values, discipline, and character. And teachers can manage classroom dynamics and social interactions. So AI doesn't truly understand students. It only analyzes patterns, but it doesn't have empathy, life experience, or moral responsibility. So that's why today we need to make sure that we as teachers can always make the classroom even more interesting than AI offer. So we are the people who actually built this human connection so that our students get to study. They are more exciting to go to schools or to the universities because we still exist. The scholars still exist, but AI might not exist in the future. But humans, inshallah, can always offer the emotions, the empathy, the trust to our Gen Z society today. So in like UNISA, we have to make sure that even the exist of AI, we make sure that the relationship between the lecturers and the students are well built, we don't only ask them to rely on AI. We have to give a hands-on experience, practical, more than assignments and presentations, because nowadays we might see that all these presentations comes from AI. So we need to test more on their soft skills, their public speaking skills, how do they manage in terms of hardship and whatnot. We give more case studies for them to think without the reliance of AI in real classrooms, inshallah. Maybe that's all from me. Maybe Dr. Frank Don might add on, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Umi. I'm really sorry. Actually, our time is over. Dr. Umi also asked to leave before the end of the session, but we hope Dr. Frank John still be with us to answer 2 or 3 questions. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Umi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Umi.
Okay, thank you so much. Jazakumullah khairan katsira. Sorry, I have another meeting after this. I told them I will leave by 4. Thank you so much.
You are
Good to see everyone. And inshallah we'll meet other time soon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Till meet you again.
All right, thank you, doctor. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. That's right. Too interesting.
Okay, so the next question is from Fitri. It says, nowadays, many students use internet to do their homework. Any information could be answered by AI or Meta AI in WhatsApp. But there are so many errors happen and wrong information could be written as well. So the question is, how do we handle this kind of situation? The student can avoid the mistake of the history and to face this technology in order to get the real explanation from the past. And the second question is from Hassan Basri. Why are so much mistake made by some historian in the Wikipedia through internet site, and what we should do to cope with the mistake? And the next question is from Umar Saleh from Nigeria. Can AI influence personality, and how should Muslim understand and manage this influence according to Islam? And the second question, how does AI affect personality formation through behavioral and cognitive changes? And how can Muslim ethically navigate this influence in line with Islamic principle? We like to hear from Dr. Frank.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much for these questions. Yeah, well, let me start in reverse order. So the first question by Mr. Umar Saleh from Nigeria. Thank you for your question. Always very good. But this is more a question for I think for Professor Ekmel, I think, because I'm not a psychologist, so it's hard for me to answer how AI can influence personality, right? So maybe Ibu Fitriah can help me out.
Yes, everyone, Prof. You can answer that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the question is right. Like Dr. Emma was saying, we are influenced by AI, and AI makes us more lonely because if you have AI girlfriend or something like that, these issues are complicated, right? We have AI, and instead of having personal relationships, we have an AI that sort of has our social needs. That's not very good. So AI can influence, and we have to be very careful about that, I think. But I don't know more than that because like I said, I'm not a social. But it is definitely true that people are increasingly more lonely and sitting at home doing their own things and not going out in the world talking to people. And I think that was the whole point of Dr. ML's presentation. And it can create but how to navigate that in line with the Islamic principles, that I honestly I cannot answer. That's my first comment. The second one is about what was the second one again? Let me try to find it. Can you help me out?
Oh yeah, Mr. Frank.
Yes.
I also much mistakes made by some historian in Wikipedia, through internet sites. Like you explained, you quoted from Javanese and Indonesians and Hollands.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you very much for that. What can we do, right? What can we do about it? Yeah. The honest answer is um, um, we have to be very careful because the problem is you cannot really do that much. You just see the source and you believe it, right? Because you trust the presentation. And this is complicated because um, how do you know that this person is telling you, or this source is correct? The answer is to verify, to check. You need more than one source. Um, so it will take you a lot more time. That's why it's a trap, because people need find the easy solution. They just check one source and they write that down. And to be honest, when I came to Taiwan, I have a lot of time, but I don't know how much time you allow for the questions and answers. But when I first came to Taiwan, because I am actually from the northern part of Belgium, so my native language is Flemish or Dutch, which helps me for Indonesian history, right? But I'm not Dutch, but I'm Belgian. But because of that, I can read the sources in detail. So because of that, when I come to Taiwan, they say that there was some kind of 17th century Dutch East India Company settlement in Taiwan. So they asked me if I can help them by teaching them some Dutch. Well, what happens when I teach the students Dutch is they always check with Google Translate, but they don't see the mistakes. So basically with AI, the problem is you can, if it looks logical, you will simply believe it because you don't know there's no ability for you to check, basically. So if you tell me, how can I know that what is written on an internet source is wrong or right? There's a big danger you don't. The answer would be, the safest would be, just like with fake news, check from verified professionals. So for instance, Encyclopedia Britannica is better than Wikipedia, but Wikipedia is better than another website. But in theory, you have to spend the time to check with all these sources. And I'm sorry, there is no easy answer. There is no easy answer. So many people would fall for that mistake that I just pointed out about the whip and the stick. It's very difficult. So we have to be very careful. That's my answer.
Yes,
Thank
thanks.
you so much, Professor. Maybe the last question. Where exactly do you from? Why you speak Javanese?
How can he speak Japanese?
Oh well, when I came to Indonesia for the first time in 1999, and I study I learned Bahasa Indonesia at the time, and I actually and actually I'm Catholic, and my wife is Catholic also, and she's from Java.
Oh,
So my family is Javanese. So it's kind of funny. I could speak Indonesian, but everybody was speaking in Japanese. So, but gradually you learn, right? So I know a little bit, very basic Japanese. But so we live in we live. My mother-in-law's house is in Condong Catur, in Condong Catur.
Condong Catur.
Yes, and I know Pak Aris from long ago actually. So we've been friends for a long time. So yeah, and I study in history, and then I study Indonesian history, but mostly about independence movement, nationalism, and identity. That's what I did. So and then after that, I went to the United States for research. But basically, I think there was one more question there from somebody, I think, but I cannot easily see it. Yes, there it is. So many students use internet to do their homework, and they use
Yes.
and there are many errors. It's the same problem. If you use ChatGPT or if you use the internet, you will automatically make mistakes. So it's very important to stay with legitimate sources, expert teachers, books, and be very careful. Be very careful. So the, there is no shortcut to knowledge. You cannot become an expert unless you suffer and you learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. And that includes the different languages also, by the way. And that's a big problem. So yes, it's challenging. But AI can help, but you have to use it as a smart tool. So I'm very happy to join this seminar and talk about it.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Frank John. Finally, we come to the end of the session too. A huge thank to our speakers for their insight across time zones and to all of you for engaging in the discussion. And big thank all participants who stay on until the end. I apologize as a moderator for any mistake and see you in the next occasion. I'll hand it back to Dr. Fitria.
But before that, I see Ayuhan raise hand. Is it Ayuhan?
Sudah tadi.
Oh, it's already us. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, distinguished speaker and honorable guests and guests and respected participants. As we come to the end of today's seminar, allow me to offer a final reflection, only brief, I think. Today, we have explored three key dimensions of the algorithmic era: the transformation of Islamic knowledge through technology, and then the impact of the digital environment on social connectedness and psychological well-being, and the way algorithms shape historical memory and identity. And then this discussion reminds us that the algorithmic era is not only technological, but a challenge and then touch knowledge, relationship, and identity. And they call us to remain critical and seeking knowledge, mindful in our interaction, and then responsible in shaping our understanding of ourselves and the past. Okay, and on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to all speakers and to all participants. And then, okay, before we conclude, let us express our gratitude by reciting Hamdalah together.